about your turning of age birthday? Were you ready to be a fully self-sufficient adult? Think back to when you first moved out of your parents' home. Were you able to return if you needed a place to stay or a place to spend the holidays? Were you able to count on them and maintain a relationship after you moved out?
When I was younger and while I was in ministry care, I was separated from my sisters, so I basically aged out on my own in separate towns of my family.
For youth in long-term care, this is their reality. If they are unable to find forever homes during their time in care, they must rapidly transition to adulthood at the young age of 18 or 19, with no option to return in times of crisis.
Because of that, I ended up homeless. I was lucky enough to find places, find roommates, but it didn't really turn out the way that it should have when I turned 19.
This is due to provincial legislation across Canada mandating child welfare agencies to release youth from their care at the age of majority. This contrasts with the experience of their peers, who tend to stay at home up until the age of 29 and continue to rely on their families, friends, and communities throughout their adult lives. Due to this cutoff of supports, youth exiting care tend to have limited support networks, and most of the connections made during their time in care are formal, paid for, and have an expiry date. This is despite research indicating that supportive long-term relationships can act as a bridge during this difficult transition. Research also illustrates that the status quo is not working. Most young people exiting care are at high risk of experiencing multiple difficulties. Child welfare decision-making often does not include youth in care's perspectives, and their voices are often left out.
Children and youth in care are rarely asked for their input when the decision to remove them from their homes and their family of origin is made. We have no options to choose for ourselves and have no control over the direction our life is taking. These practices need to change, and children and youth from care need to be involved in all decision-making discussions.
This collaborative For a Voice research project aimed to take a closer look through the power of images and accompanying captions at the relationships that matter to youth from care and how those relationships can be developed, nurtured, and sustained over time in a healthy way.
I hope that people really, after this exhibit, realize that foster youth are also living, breathing people that have personalities.
Preliminary results showcase the need for broadening the definition of family to include pets and parent-like mentors, and broadening the definition of community to include online forms of connection. Connections to spirituality, culture, and the land were also identified as important, especially for racialized and Indigenous youth.
For our dear young ones that are in foster care right now, we ask a blessing for them. We want to carry a good vision that we're all part of a family, and we realize it and we recognize it and we feel the love and the kindness and the warmth of a family, all of us.
As a former youth in care myself, this project is close to my heart. Through our collaborative research, my co-researchers and I aim to showcase that youth in and from care have a basic need for connection to others, just like their peers do.
Forming relationships with youth in and from care so that our relationships with the system are not devoid of warmth and understanding.
We should also be given the opportunity, as part of our healing journey, to make connections with those people who will have positivity in our lives and help us build social capital.
As human beings, we cannot and should not have to exist self-sufficiently and independently from others. Our peers who are not in care are not expected to age out of their families at the age of majority and continue to rely on others throughout their adulthood. This is simply a normal part of life for them. However, youth in and from care are taught to become self-sufficient as they prepare to age out of the system, which imposes a lot of stress on them as they deal with yet another drastic transition in their lives.
After we transition, we should be able to keep, these long-term relationships that we have built in the system, regardless of who they were with. Like, your counselor or people that you met, in your group homes. Or, not have restrictions on, housing or based around even your pets.
To keep our inner fire alive, we need to be interconnected to others who can help us thrive within our communities. We need to be provided with the same level of ongoing care, support, and love that our peers receive, so we can get a fighting chance to thrive and not just survive.